Well, Belshir is going to be a map that I personally feel is going to be a bit more suited to Dez's style of play. If he chooses to do that, it's a smaller map. He's going to be able to go for that multi-prong harassment a bit more, the third base a little bit more vulnerable, but we'll talk about that in a sec. First, up in the top left position, spawning, as the purple Zerg player from FM Esports, it is Shibby. And his opponent down in the bottom right, the blue Protoss from Sixth Sense, it is Dez.
All right. So I'm really looking forward to checking out what Dez's reactions are going to be to Shibby's tech choices this game. Because even though I disagreed with him going Warp Prism, he did scout the Hydralisk Den being made in the back of the main mineral line, which is a tough place to scout on Frost. He did a great job getting in there, and then immediately put down the robotics bait. At that point, I was thinking, wow, this has the potential to start an awesome timing attack for our Protoss player here. And of course that didn't happen, but the fact that it had the potential to be there makes me think that Dez could do this in game number 2. So I'd love to see how he limits where Shibby puts his Overlords. I'd like to see how aggressive he is with his Mothership Core, and I want to see what his tech choices end up being based on what he sees from our Zerg player here.
Yeah, it's all fairly good, to be honest. I mean, at the moment, nothing too crazy is going on. The big thing is just, what are they going to be doing in the mid-game? As you said, Joasar, I think Dez needs to shake it up. The Wall Prism play isn't going to work on this map. You've got to make sure that, to be honest, everything is going up against what Shibby does. Shibby, if he goes for that Ling Hydra approach again, well, Dez just has to get Colossus down. It's essential.
Yeah, definitely. If he sees the same composition coming out again, fast Colossi from our Protoss player has to be the order of the day. We even saw in that previous game, it took a little while for the Roach Warren to come down for Shibby as well, so he wouldn't have had that many Roaches against the potential Colossus timing, and he definitely wouldn't have had time to get a Spire down for Corruptors. So one of those timings could prove very, very effective, but first, Dez would have to scout that Shibby is going for that Hydra Deadly.
Well, gas coming down here for Shibby, right thing to do up against a Gateway Expand, everything looking pretty good, and yeah, I'd say, at the moment, nothing exciting going on, so we can't talk about Warcraft 3, because obviously this isn't the Warcraft 3 map, so let's talk about a little bit of theory crafting, right?
Okay.
Belshir,
Let's do it. Yep.
do you think going a Gateway Expand as Protoss should be the standard in this matchup? Because I personally think going for a Forge Fast Expand on this map is crazy bonkers.
I agree, but not necessarily to an extent that I would say Protoss are going to lose at a Forge Fast Expand. It's more a case of, because of the way the natural expansion links towards the third base, as you can see, the terrain is just really good for attacks coming in. You can show like the Valley of Death, for example, where we see a lot of armies die to Colossi and laser beams. On the left-hand side, sort of where you're looking now, just a really, really nice map to sort of put a lot of aggression on the third base. And I think that it does lend itself to timing attacks. So I would prefer a Gateway Expand over a Forge Expand to dissuade Zergs from being able to capitalize on that third base earlier in the game.
I think that's a good point. Everything well made. Now, the other thing I want to touch on is this Valley of Death. It's so dangerous to push in here. Even as a Protoss player, if you come into this area, there will be Zerglings while you're engaging the Force with this amazing attack arc they can get up here. Just look at the concave you're able to achieve over the top of this ramp, opposed to pushing up it. And while you're there, you might put down some force fields to the front, but guess what? Zerglings are going to be coming round the back, ready to trap you on the other side. This is such a dangerous area to try and push into, and it's why I think if you are going to try and deny the third, you should always come from the right and take out these destructible rocks first.
Completely agreed. I mean, we've seen PvP games, for example, go into late game where one army 40 supply lower than the other gets annihilated. Beats an army 40 supply larger in 3 or 4 seconds because the larger army was in that Valley of Death. Like, it's just such an open invitation for bad things to happen. That's definitely one feature of this map that a lot of players would be looking to avoid here.
Now, we do interestingly have from Dez here a pylon coming down quite far forward. It could also be initially just for warpins, but look at the position of it. He may even be able to get a wall off here if he chose to. Could be a quick third. It wouldn't be the normal location for it, but certainly something that Shibby does need to keep an eye on for, because I've seen quite a few Protoss players go for a sneaky expand into here, thinking that a Zerg isn't going to notice, and that's actually why we've got a lot of Zerglings now coming over, and they are going to try and pick up this pylon.
Yeah, instantly coming over to check that out. That pylon wasn't at the very edge of the map, so definitely too far forward to be a proxy. I would really be surprised if a quick third got taken at that position. I think that's very, very aggressive place to be for a Protoss. I'm just not a big fan of that, because I think a Zergling run by would be able to get that to cancel fairly easily with most builds. Right now, though, Shibby should probably start thinking about going for his third. He is going to be getting down his Hydra this time, but bear in mind it is 2 base versus 2 base right now. So let's keep an eye on when the third gets taken, which looks like it's going to be very, very soon indeed, and if and when Dez is able to scout the Hydra Den has come out.
Now Dez, even though he's got these 4 gates down, he does not want to push right now. It would be disastrous for him, and he's going to be able to identify that with the Mothership Core scouting. He knows that the third isn't coming down, it's only just been placed, so if that's really late, that means that Shibby obviously has teched up, probably got either Hydras or Swarm Hosts or even Mutalisks potentially on its way, and that a push then would probably result in a lot of damage being done. These Zealots, they're coming in, but this isn't a big commitment of an attack. It's just a couple of 100 minerals on their way in, and he may even be able to get this Hydrogen.
Oh, and that could be pretty massive. He manages to get that a decent stream of Lings coming back, and the Zealots are saying, actually, I don't think I can get this Hydrogen. I might as well kill off as many Lings as possible. Good micro from both sides here, and Shibby is going to be able to preserve... Oh, am I speaking too soon? We need to transfuse! Oh my god! I don't think those Zealots should have... I don't think those Zealots should have got that Hydra Den at all. I am a little bit surprised here, and Dez is going to be very happy with that pick-off indeed.
Yeah, he will. The Hydra Den was very low, but the Queens both had enough energy for a transfuse each. That's a minimum of 2 transfuses that could have gone down on that Hydra Den, and it certainly would have kept it up. The Zealots were very low, so I'm surprised that Shibby allowed that to happen, and Dez actually now in quite a comfortable spot. Shibby is going up for the Spire behind this, but his only tech at the moment are the Hydralisks that he has on the field, 8 of them, and Zerglings. Nothing else. This is going to make things pretty tough for Dez, pretty tough for Shibby if a push was to come in the near future.
The Robotics Bay is coming down for Dez, but this was after that we got the Twilight Council up, and we are researching Blink once again here in game number 2. So again, not going for that fast Colossus tech, instead going to be strengthening his Gateway army here. 3 more Gateways coming down, and that +1 attack is going to be finishing up in roughly an in-game minute. So we have a forward pylon go down here. That's actually the last one on the field right now, I want to say. We really need another one if Dez wants to try and execute some sort of timing. But Shibby, smelling something here, 20 Lings on the way to try and defend.
Yeah, he knows he needs to be careful. Does see with the Overlord the third getting taken though. That is a massive scout down there for Shibby. Knowing that's there just basically says that Dez is not committing to a big push. Dez actually getting out a second Robo is going to be pumping out a lot of Colossi with extended thermal lance on its way too. But Shibby, with a good number of Mutas coming out, is actually in an okay spot. There's only 3 Stalkers and 6 Sentries, Jorasar. Yes, Blink's coming down, but you try Blink Micro with 3 Stalkers against 10 Mutalisks. It's not going to end happy.
Yeah, you're completely right. I think, really, we need to see the Spire scouted sooner rather than later. If we take a look at Dez's vision, he hasn't spotted the Spire at all. He knows the layer's there, but that's about it. He managed to go in and see the Hydra Den and take that out, but he didn't see the Spire in the background at the time. So these Mutas are going to come as a little bit of a shock to him. Not going to lie. They're coming into the main base now.
Luckily, there's not too many. Not all of them are over yet, but the Stalkers are warping and they can take some damage simultaneously. The reinforcements can't come back because Zerglings are just delaying them. The Stalkers getting picked off as they warp in, but they're losing because they're prioritizing at, well, quite simply, the damage coming in. So, yeah, the probes are getting taken out. The Zerglings have been taken out to the left-hand side, but this has prevented anything getting back to defend. Photon Overcharge trying to deal as much damage as possible, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, the Mutas have killed 18 workers now killed in this game. These Mutas have the option of just heading into the natural and killing a couple more now, because look, the army is all the way out in the middle of the field for Dez. He's not going to be having a good time at all, and all of a sudden all these probes at the natural are also getting pummeled. There are only only 6 Mutalisks here, but 6 is enough to do this level of damage. 7 now, and the Mothership Core goes down as well. This is catastrophic for a Protoss player. He's forced to pull the probes to the 3rd base location, where there are a grand total of 2 Stalkers. This isn't going to be enough to prevent the damage, and I think this might be the end of Dez.
It may not be though, because look at this push coming in here for Dez at the moment. There's no Spine Callers bar the one that's down at the moment for Shibby. And remember, he's only got Zergling tech, nothing else. The Mutalisks, yes, they've done good damage, but they actually need to come back and defend Jarosar, because if they don't, this force, especially with this great positioning and zoning out those Zerglings, is just going to start picking apart
He needs roaches.
everything.
He's got a Roach Warren down. He really needs those right now instead of Lings. He's got 9 Mutas on the way as well, but Zerglings are not going to help him out. He needs to pool his Mutalisks and wait for an opportune time with a round of Roaches to deal with this army. He's only making Zerglings. I feel Shibby's making this quite difficult for himself here.
Yeah, there's 16. Oh, now only 14. A couple engaging independently. Drones getting pulled. Shibby doesn't yet have those Zerglings out. This is very tough for him. The Colossus trying to get focused. And yes, if that goes down, the Lings will be more effective. But the Mutas themselves are getting very low in number. The Colossus finally dies. But there's only 10 Zerglings remaining on the field. This is pretty tough for Shibby, and all of the Mutas are going to go down.
Yeah, I think the Mutas might have been better off if the drones weren't... Like, after the force fields came up, he could have just moved the drones back and had the Mutas focus a couple of the Stalkers rather than the Colossus and pick off the Colossus a bit later. But this force is now being whittled down a little bit. It's very, very close right now. 71 to 78 supply. Bear in mind, though, that if Shibby is able to hold this off, his worker supply is 47 to 27. Here comes a Roach or 2, plus these reinforcement Mutas. I think this is just going to be enough to whittle this down, but another round of Stalkers coming in.
Yeah, this is now... These Stalkers on their way in are going to have to go through the Spine Callers, which is a bit of a saving grace. The ones on the ramp, though, have done a good amount of damage. Zealots charging their way up. The Blink Stalker still dealing some more damage. The Roach count back near to 0, and still the aggression is on its way forward. Dez, he's somehow dealing a huge amount of damage here. He's still got his 3rd base up and is producing no probes, though. That's a problem for him because he's only at 27 to the 51 drones of Shibby. Shibby, though, hasn't dealt with this attack yet. He's still trying to pump out some more Roaches, some more Zerglings, and he's trickling them in as well. He would do good to actually pull back for a minute and just allow a sizable force of units to come in and actually finish this force, as opposed to just throwing it against the meat grinder.
8 Roaches about to pop, and he needs these in the main base stat. As long as he can get these in, they're going to help an awful lot here. There are no additional units coming through that are anywhere close to this base right now. 4 more Stalkers for Dez, but they are a mile away right now. 13 Roaches in production. Shibby just needs to get them in one place before A-moving them. We have a couple of Spine Crawlers coming up into the main base now as well. The Spire is going to go down. And Dez is getting a lot of purchase here, but again, if he doesn't win the game with this attack, guys, the amount of worker damage that was done by Shibby previously is just a lot. He is still ahead by almost 20 workers. So if these Roaches clear up this attack, Shibby is still quite far ahead.
Yeah, but he took way more damage than I personally think that he needed to against those Stalkers. If he just actually accepted that he was going to take some losses, kept some units back, got out a sizable force, and then moved in as opposed to the trickle of units, I think it would have gone a lot better for him. But as it stands, he did take a considerable amount of damage there, actually losing considerably more than Dez has this game, nearly 5,000 more resources, but that still doesn't make up for being at half the worker count.
Exactly. Dez is currently at half the worker count, and Shibby has just made another 10 drones. So he's back up to 73 workers and on 4 bases. And we're going to very quickly get into a situation where Shibby can just afford to continuously stream units in, and Dez's economy is going to seriously struggle to keep up. These Blink Stalkers are doing a great job at the moment of pulling these Roaches forward. However, these Roaches are still there, are still picking off units, and with the best Blink Micro in the world, you can't rescue an economy from this position if your opponent is absolutely determined to chuck units at you.
Yeah, and this 3rd base now starting to lose a couple more probes as well. The Stalker's being distracted with Roaches up in the high position, but most of the damage Shibby's trying to do is to the economy, picking off a load more probes. Dez now down to just 20 probes to 73 drones of Shibby. If we look at the income tab, it's hugely in favor of Shibby at the moment. 2,200 minerals a minute compared to 400. That is a massive lead right now for Shibby, and he's just continuing on the pressure.
Yep, Shibby now just moving into the natural expansion. Dez is down to 34 supply, and oh good god, that pylon. Bye-bye gateways. but there isn't really enough money to warp in from them anyway. Now moving in, and that's going to be enough. GG. Dez has had enough, and Shibby moves on to the semi-finals, winning 2.